This video is all about Ed Schempp's design, the Spyderco Tuff. First off, this is a butt ugly knife. It really is pretty ugly. Just a little history behind me picking this up. When I first saw this thing, well, when I first heard about it, I was blown away and I wanted one so bad. Then when I first saw it, I was kind of like, I don't know about that. Mainly had to do with small stuff, aesthetic stuff, like these craters. I hate the craters. I'd rather them not be there on either side. I mean, you know, if they had to be there, maybe just like this little swoosh right here, and this little swoosh right here. Simple, you know. I'd much prefer them to have sprung from maybe a different color G10 or something. Don't really dig the black pocket clip, even though it does seem a little bit different than the standard black pocket clip. It's a little more matte. It doesn't seem quite as, you know, black and enamelly. But, yeah, not the biggest fan of that. But I went ahead and picked one up anyways, and I fell in love with this thing within hours. And I think it comes down to just the design of this thing. I don't know, and something to do with the way it fits in your hand. I don't know, I love it. I really like it. The other day I was driving to work and I was playing with it. I was stopped at a train crossing. Don't worry, I wasn't driving. Stopped at a train crossing, pull it out, the knife I mean, start playing with it, and I realize this is basically a folding kukri. I mean, look at this design. Imagine if this was blade till about here, and then here was handle. That's basically a kukri. Here being the most active part of that particular design. You know, that's where you do most of your striking and cutting is actually right here, and that's what's intact. And that kind of got me thinking, because Ed Schempp is known for doing a lot of collaborations with Spyderco, particularly, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I can't think of it. But, you know, he did like, you know, just traditional updated weaponry. So he did like the Persian folder, he did the Navaja, I think he did the balance too. A lot of them are based off of kind of ancient tribal weapons. So it did kind of make me think that this is actually based off of a kukri. Could be wrong. Moving on. But aside from that, the basic gist behind this is I'd imagine Ed probably thought that, you know, he sees the craze in the overbuilt, super strong knife arena, and he thought, okay, you want a super overbuilt knife? I will give you a super overbuilt knife. And that's exactly what he did. This is a very large knife. I've got big hands, and you can see how big that is. The actual cutting edge isn't all that big. I think it's about 3.5 inches, maybe slightly less. But when you think about it, how much actual cutting edge do you need in a folding knife? I don't need more than just a few inches. And once again, I'm talking about the knife. I don't really need it all the way down here. But let's talk about the features. I know I'm going to miss stuff. Ergonomics. Beautiful. Fits in the hand great. You've got this wonderful thumb ramp right here. I've heard some people complain about the jimping. It's moderately functional. It doesn't like bite into you like a lot of the Spyderco jimping does. However, it is a ramp, you know, so I don't think that's necessary, because it is a really abrupt ramp right there. You have this great huge finger choil, so you can choke up like this. Reason why it's so large is just due to the handle design. In order for it to function as a safety choil, if the knife were to close, it really needs to be that big to be safe. I mean, as you can see, I can put force on here, and as long as I'm up on the handle where I should be, I'm pretty confident that I wouldn't get cut if this lock were to fail, which could happen. I'll talk more about that later. Beautiful fuller right here, also known as a blood groove, flat ground blade, wonderful grind lines. I really love that. Looks kind of like, they're more pronounced than what's on most Spydercos, it seems like. Very similar to what Strider does on his customs. But of course, usually they've got kind of a contrast where the grind lines are only here, and then the flats are actually finished in a bead blast or stonewash or something like that. Spider hole right here. Obviously the titanium side, you've got all these craters. Really don't function as grip, in my opinion. I mean, all the grip comes from this wonderful handle and this finger guard right here, and that's really all the grip you need. So really, these are just decoration, is all that they're for. Huge pivot, which you've seen in my takedown video. Definitely a very large pivot. Everything's nice and flush, looks great. Huge stop pin, which is part of the reason why I was able to chop through that 2x4 with this thing without having it affect lockup. Lockup is still early and good. Early and good. Tip down, tip up, right hand, left hand carry. Options, people, amazing. Back spacer almost fills up half of the freaking thing. G10. It's got 4 body screws that go into standoffs, I guess you would call them. Steel inserts inside here. Everything is done really well. Fit and finish is excellent. Oh, by the way, this is made in Taichung, Taiwan. You can see the Schempp logo right here. Oh, steel. CPM 3V. CPM 3 frickin' V. So this is a crucible steel. So it is shipped over to Taiwan to make this knife, which is, excellent. It's so easy just to say, we'll just do Aus 8. No, they shipped over proper steel. 3V is amazing stuff. Go check out Smoke Eater 908. He did a Strider video that was done at 3V, where he basically chops up a cinder block, and it has very little effect to the blade. I mean, it can just take so much abuse. Downside is it's a little more corrosion prone than a lot of steels you find. Pretty bold move doing it in satin. Usually when I've seen this steel featured, it's always got a coating on it, so that's interesting. But I've been carrying this for about 3 days, and I rub it down with an oiled cloth when I can, but no signs of rust or anything. It's actually been pretty humid in my area over these last few days, so so yeah, all good there. Thick steel liner. It is skeletonized inside there to help reduce weight. Obviously G10, we talked about that. Nice big lanyard hole. Lock bar. First thing that most people notice with this knife is that it is extremely stiff. It's smooth, but it's extremely stiff. Like, it takes a lot of force to open this thing, and you really can't flick it. I mean, if you get just a huge amount of wrist action in there, flick it open. By the way, a lot of these corners are very sharp. You can actually almost cut yourself with these corners here. I'm not sure if it's because of the 3V or what, but quite sharp. Very stiff, and that is because this lock bar is so stiff. Not only is it short, which makes the energy it's storing all that much stronger, but the actual cutout portion here is still very thick. I mean, that's a very thick liner right there. So this thing just stores tons of energy. It's not really bent over all that far, just a little bit more than where it locks up, but because of that, it stores a lot of energy, so it takes a lot of force to undo the lock bar, which is fine. And I heard Mr. Schempp quote this in the Spyderco forums. Basically, people were asking about that, and he said, well, that's par for the course for a tough knife, right? I mean, you can't really have a super overbuilt strong knife and have it be a breeze to open. It's kind of how it goes. If you want this lock to be super strong and engage super strong, it's going to be hard to undo. And so, yeah, oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Of course, live with it. I mean, how many times do you really need to open the knife? I'd much rather have it lock up really solid. It does have a steel insert there, by the way, which, I've mentioned in my previous videos, but in case you didn't see those. It also has, as part of that, it extends past this portion here, which prevents this from over-traveling this way. I didn't mention this, but that tip is insane. I mean, look at that. You are never going to snap that. I keep wanting to put this thing down, and I keep just putting it in my pocket. It rides really well. It's a super beefy knife, but it's really not, it's still fairly thin. Rides in your pocket really well. And something about it just has like an Art Deco kind of look with this fuller. Love the blade. In fact, I love the shape. The shape is killer. Not a big fan of the craters. or the black clips. Just looks though. But other than that, this thing is just killer. And just the sound is awesome. Listen to that. I mean, that lockup sounds so amazing. I would definitely give this a high recommendation though. It's an awesome knife. I mean, you saw this damn thing chop through a 2x4. What more hard use do you need from a knife than chopping through a 2x4? Chopping through a 2x4 and sustaining no damage. How's that? Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Alright guys, that's my review on the Spyderco Tuff. Take it easy guys.